Ja, ein eigenes Musikfestival, das würde wohl jedem Radiosender gefallen. BBC Radio 6Music, ein interaktiver digitaler Radiosender, hat es geschafft. Im letzten Jahr fand zum ersten Mal das BBC Radio 6 Music Festival statt. Dieses Jahr gab es bereits die zweite Ausgabe. Und wie man einen markenstärkenden Livemusik-Event veranstaltet, den das Publikum hören, sehen und im besten Fall sogar live mit dabei sein will, das erzählt uns Samantha Moy von BBC Radio 6 Music, der kreative Kopf des Festivals. How do you grow a festival out of a radio station? It's a great pleasure to welcome you here in Zurich. Welcome, Samantha Moy.
Hello. Oh, it's so bright. Hello, everyone. Hi. Good afternoon. I'm Samantha Moy. I'm an editor at 6Music and the creative lead at the 6Music Festival. Thank you for coming to hear about the celebration of our alternative spirit. Over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to tell you the story of the 6Music Festival, and by doing so, I hope I can share some insight with you, which is how you might grow a festival out of a radio station too. Now, I'm aware that not everyone in this room is going to be as super familiar with 6Music as I am, as one of its editors. So I'd like to explain where we sit in the BBC radio firmament, what our purpose is, who our presenters are, the records we play, the artists we support. In essence, who we are.
There is a place where music comes to life, a place like no other. With one foot in the past and one in the future. A place to find amazing live music and discover the unexpected. Where the next record you hear could be the best record you've ever heard. This is BBC Radio 6 Music, where extraordinary music plays. Listen online, on mobile or on digital radio.
So 6Music is part of the BBC's radio portfolio. That's Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 3, Radio 4, Radio 5 and the digital radio services, which includes 1 Extra, 6Music, the Asian Network, 4 Extra, 5 Live Extra and all of the local independent radio stations. Combined, they serve the UK and each week just over 35 million people listen. 6Music was born on the 11th of March 2002, the first national music radio station that the BBC had launched in 32 years. Our launch was part of a range of projects that the BBC did in helping the drive towards digital. Now, 6Music is primarily a DAB radio service. But of course, digital means so much more than DAB now. It means being part of platforms and services like digital television, online, smartphones and tablets. Our reach currently is just over 2 million, and when people find us, they tend to stay with us for over 9 hours per week. So, what are we? What can you hear? Well, we're an alternative music station. We celebrate alternative music since the 1960s, and we are format radio in the traditional sense. We have presenters, we play music, like Guy Garvey, the lead singer of Elbow. But a more appropriate term for our presenters might be curators. We ensure that they have unrivaled creative opportunity to choose the music on their shows, and I think that's unique on any radio station of scale which is broadcast nationally. Now, our daytime shows are playlisted, but within that the presenters can pick a round from any decade from the 60s right through to now. Throughout the week's schedule on 6Music, our shows explore a wide spectrum of music from all sorts of genres, and Keris Matthews' show on a Sunday morning is a case in point. She broadcasts from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on a Sunday morning, and one of her most recent shows, she played music from the world of blues, roots, reggae, rock, soul, country, bluegrass, folk, world music, gospel, classical, soundtrack, jazz, pop and rap. Combine this music curation with our presenters. Here's one of the new ones. They range from musicians like Guy, Keris, Iggy Pop, Jarvis Cocker, and music journalists of the Standard, Mary Ann Hobbs, Stuart McConey, and Steve Lamacq. And that mix makes 6 highly unusual in the traditional UK radio marketplace. This is Compare My Radio. Now, one of the things that they measure is how varied a station's play-out is. Now, I'm quoting here, at 100%, it means that the station has played no repeat tracks in the last 30 days. Now, the current average for the whole radio industry in the UK is 4%. 6Music's average last month alone was 65%. In July, we played over 5,000 unique tracks compared to Radio 1's 3,621 and London's Capital FM, which was at 393. So we do things like play album tracks, we celebrate the joy of playing music in a shed, we also celebrate David Byrne and pop art, and we invite the adverts on to talk about their punk legacy on our drive time show. And that uniqueness has found an appeal. There's a lovely quote from The Guardian, which you can read behind me. So as I mentioned, currently we have over 2 million listeners in the UK, and if I could measure our global reach, I suspect it might be higher. And indeed, if we were on FM, it might be higher too. And our listeners tune in for over 9 hours a week on average, and those figures mean that we are the biggest and most listened to digital radio station in the UK at the moment. And that uniqueness is afforded to us because 6Music is part of the BBC, the UK's public service broadcasting corporation. We're impartial and we're independent. We're funded by the licence fee, and as such, our editorial is not influenced by commercial interests. In a room where radio generally is funded by different models, I know what an incredibly privileged position that puts us in. But it offers us a challenge too. Now, the BBC Trust is the BBC's governing body and is independent of the corporation. Its role is to make decisions in the best interests of the licence fee payer. Now, the Trust set our objectives at 6Music, and our continuing one is this: build our audience while remaining distinctive. It's a challenge. One of the ways you could do that is play more mainstream popular music, but that would make us less distinctive. So how can you build an audience while remaining distinctive? And we ask ourselves this question all the time at 6Music. How do you achieve balance between the need to be distinctive and the imperative to grow? How do you avoid falling into the trap where being interesting is sacrificed in being successful? You have to think beyond the radio station. And I'm quoting my boss, Paul Rogers here, who said, radio is at the centre of what we do, but I don't think anyone who runs a radio station just thinks about radio anymore. So what does beyond radio mean? To me, it means three things. It means taking the existing brand and putting it into different spaces, geographically, digitally, conceptually. The aim to grow the audience. So geographically, that's easy. There's a big clue where we went this year for our festival. So that's taking your brand, your radio station, and putting it somewhere you think there might be a new audience for your radio station, a new way of consumption, places previously where you might have underperformed. In this case, the northeast of England. Digitally, well, this is what we've all been talking about and we do day in, day out. This is taking a quote from Iggy Pop's programme, making an asset around it, sharing it on our Facebook, sharing it with Iggy's social channels, and then hopefully some of his fans might discover he's got a radio show and then come and listen to us. And conceptually, what do I mean by that? Well, we can help shape the way people think of 6Music. We can make ourselves a destination that is important to artists, to record labels, to the record industry, and partners like the British Library or arts communities. And this can yield some really obvious benefits. This is Sir Paul McCartney. He's a Beatle. We're a 2 million plus radio station. But what we do and how we do it appeals to artists of Sir Paul McCartney's calibre, and he came to do a session for us. So how to take that step to grow and remain distinctive? One of the ways we could do that is to develop a festival. And it makes sense because 6Music supports live music. Every year we broadcast live from Glastonbury. This year we broadcast live from Latitude and from WOMAD Festival. And every year on the network we have over 300 live sessions from bands and artists. So the natural step would be to curate an event based around live music and the content that we broadcast day in and day out. A festival is a moment of great ambition and impact, and it has to encapsulate and communicate who we are to our audience. A festival can also drive brand awareness, and brand awareness can increase reach, hours, audience appreciation, and unique browsers. So far, we've had 2 festivals, and our first one was last year. We went to the Victoria Warehouse in Salford, which is a city outside of Manchester, and the lineup looked like this. A little bit. So this is a billboard that you can see if you take the tram out of Manchester, Salford and back again, and we put our lineup on this billboard throughout the day as our bill was announced on air. So we had Metronomy, Haim, The National, James Blake, Bombay Bicycle Club, Franz Ferdinand, Wild Beast, Jake Bugg, Midlake, Khalees, and I think Damon Albarn, and he was the last person that was announced on the day in Stephen Mack's Drive Time show, which is why it's all looking a little bit dark there. At the time of launch, it was our most ambitious 6Music event ever. Previously, we put on OBs around the country. We'd done a week-long run of sessions at Maida Vale, the legendary BBC studios. And we'd done an event at the South Bank for our 10th birthday. But nothing of this scale. This was 2 days, February the 28th and March the 1st. 5 stages, 40 artists, 11,000 tickets, and its aim was just to reflect all of 6Music. We chose Salford, the city close to Manchester, and home to our broadcast base in the north of England. We're a twin-site radio station. Over a third of our output comes from Salford. And by dint of the venue, which was an old warehouse, we thought, how could we populate those spaces in the day? And up sprung comedy, poetry, live radio shows in front of audiences, live acoustic performances, interviews and readings, and an independent record fair. And it delivered. We sold out in 6 minutes. Now, the 6Music Festival operates on a cost recovery basis, so the licence fee pays for the broadcast. The event is paid for by ticket revenues. In 2014's case, it was £25. Unique browsers to our website were up 41% on the week before the festival. The 6Music Festival site gained a total of over 100,000 weekly unique browsers and reached an engagement on the red button, which is the BBC digital TV service, came in at approximately 700,000 across 2 weeks. And our Twitter and Facebook accounts were up on the month. So it was measured to be a success. And success gives you confidence, not our headliners for next year. I haven't given you the skinny. Now we knew that there was an appetite for what we did musically and what we stood for, and that people would come. We knew that we could deliver an upscale event that reflected our alternative spirit, that covered the wide range of genres we play and which our presenters curate. Confidence meant we could think about being bigger. We could go somewhere else, move away from our broadcast base, go to a different place in the UK entirely. We could partner up. People wanted to work with us and we wanted to work with them, so we could look at arts and academic institutions and commercial agencies and local businesses. We wanted to increase our creative ambition. In 2014, Damon Albarn debuted his first ever solo record. We wanted to commission original work this year. And we wanted to just broadcast more. We knew that our audience liked what we did, and we wanted to give them more opportunity to listen to it and to interact with it. So bigger meant 3 days instead of 2, across multiple sites, not just one. We had something called The Fringe in the first year, which was one space that was populated by one running order through the day. This year we decided to rebrand it and called it 6Music Festival by Day. And it took place over 7 stages across 2 days rather than 1. 6Music Festival by Night, that's the paid for ticket, 34 live music acts over 3 nights. 6Music Festival late, DJs in a warehouse, literally, so we just did a late night club night. And over 100 performances. This was up from 65 in the previous year, so we nearly doubled it. And we increased our capacity by over 1,000, up to 12,000. Confidence meant we could go somewhere else. This is Tyneside. We're in 2 wonderful cities, not just one. Now, Gateshead is home to the beautiful Sage, home of concert halls, jazz, concerts in lunch hours, brass bands, youth programmes, graffiti artists all work out of the Sage. It's a wonderful venue. And then on the other side of the Tyne, Newcastle, we went to a place called Ousburn, which is a creative quarter. that is home to smaller venues like the Cluny and Cluny 2 and the Star and Shadow Cinema, and that's where we had 6Music Festival by day, and we put a programme of events in every single one of those venues. And Tyneside itself, you might not know firsthand, but is blessed with a rich and colourful musical heritage. It's where Led Zeppelin played their first ever gig in the UK. It's home to the Animals. Channel 4's The Tube, a seminal pop music TV show, was made there. And it's where Bryan Ferry was born and where he went to art school. So lots of really great stories to tell on air and to find out about. Confidence meant we would partner up. So this is jungle on stage, and on that staircase you can just about make up is a choir. So we partnered with the Sage and we commissioned a local youth choir to sing on a couple of their tracks. So that never happened before, and that happened for the first time at our festival. We also partnered up with Newcastle University and Generator. We did a festival hack day where we invited app developers to come and invent an app that you could use at a festival. Major companies attended that, and we hope to run it again next year. Confidence meant an increase in creative ambition. So what do I mean by like that? So original collaborations. So this is Eliza Carthy, folk legend. Next to her is Kate Tempest. She's a poet, she's a rapper, she's a playwright. She's incredibly talented. And that's Mark Radcliffe. He presents our afternoon show with Stuart McConey. And he was interviewing them during the day at 6Music Festival by day about what their collaboration might be. And we're going to hear a little bit about that in a moment. And they talk about that, the world of rap colliding with the world of folk. At its heart, you're telling human stories. And then they perform later that night at the 6Music by night. So we're going to hear a little bit from them now.
The 6Music Festival on Tyneside.
Are you doing songs together, or are you alternating? But there are.
For me, that was the most exciting thing about it, is how, obviously, if we had lots of time, we could have hung out for ages and really kind of written lots of interesting stuff that could have moved between us more than But we have written, we've created these 3 songs, which are, I think, a really good. It feels like quite an interesting meeting of minds. I think.
Yeah, they make sense. They have a story. It's been we're all about juxtaposing things at the moment, or trying to find things that say the same thing. Kate has written this little thing for her niece, her little baby niece, but the song that I'm singing that goes with it is the kind of typical traditional song that you would expect. It's a song about how beautiful the flowers are, and all the happy ploughboys are all going out to work in the fields and all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very bucolic and very sort of beautiful classic English countryside kind of an idea. And then to juxtapose it with this little verse about a baby and what that baby's going to expect in life kind of thing, I think actually works really, really well.
I hold you in my arms. Your age is told in months. There's things I hope you'll learn, things I'm sure that I learned once. But there's nothing I can teach you. You will find all that you need. No flower bends its head to offer teaching to a seed. The seed will grow and blossom once the flower's ground to dust. But even so, if nothing else, well then one thing I'll entrust. Doing what you please is not the same as doing what you must.
The 6Music Festival on Tyneside.
So they did 3 songs that night, and that was one of them. So yes, creative ambition. That played out across the day at 6Music Festival as well. As I mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 venues. So much going on. So much that our listeners could come to and just experience. So 6Music Festival by day was a free event. So what you would do is you'd register. And if you were selected, you could come along. And you could just spend the day in the company of us. Drink, food, conversation, performance, comedy. Last year we had 1 stage, this year 5, and this film gives you a little bit of a flavour of what the weekend was like.
Getting hard to sleep, blood is in my dreams. Love is killing me, trying to figure it out.
Still the fact that there are only 2 of them. They're the amazing Royal Blood. And after the first song, the bar manager was just like, turn it down, turn it down. So we obviously turned it up. Rock and roll.
I let it go, 'cause I won't see you later on, we're not allowed to talk it out. I said I'd go, put myself on the show, but I'm still trying to figure it out. I brought my shoe, took the bet on you, but you didn't know I planned it out. I said I'd go, yeah, I won't see you later on, we're not allowed to figure it out.
Well timed. Now, in that clip, some of you might have seen Royal Blood discussing their ascent with early supporter Stephen Mack, who's our drive time DJ, before they took to the stage that evening. And that's one of the wonderful things about 6Music Festival by Day. We invite the people that are playing in the evening to just come and talk about themselves. So even if you haven't got a ticket, you can still come and have an experience with them. Another artist who joined us was this man, Bryan Ferry. Bryan Ferry is one of Tyne and Weir's most famous sons, and he joined Lauren and Vern, who presents our mid-morning show every weekday. Now, he didn't perform at the festival. He just came to talk about his work, his career, and how the North East shaped him into the artist that he became.
With Roxy, did you approach it from the outset as an art project? Because, you know, I know that you released your first album before your first single, which was very much not the way it was done at the time. Was that because you had a kind of different, maybe a broader perspective on it?
Yeah, I mean, we thought albums were the thing, you know, and we wanted a kind of substantial body of work, you know, and each album was put together quite carefully. We didn't really think about a single.
Was it album straight out?
And then when the album was a big hit, the record company, which was Island Records, who were very supportive and quite amazed by the success of the record, I think, said, well, do you have a single? And I said, well, there's this song we could do, which I could finish off. And it's called Virginia Plain, and we did that, and that was a big hit. And that kind of took us over into a more mainstream acceptance and got us onto kind of daytime radio and that kind of thing. Whereas we always had imagined we'd be very much kind of underground band, you know, just playing midnight shows to kind of troglodyte people.
So part of that interview was broadcast out live on air on 6Music, because we broadcast live across the weekend from our own festival. Of course we would. But the rest of it was recorded, and the entire interview was put out in its duration on Lauren's show the following Monday. And that is an example of how we use the festival as a source of content for 6Music in the weeks that followed. So yeah, more broadcast coverage. So I don't know how we did it, actually. So it's a 100% increase from 2014, 26 hours of live radio from 5 different OB sites, multi-venue, multi-site with conversation, performance, poetry, laughter. You could listen live, access content on demand, or draw up your own festival schedule from the festival website. All this, as well as film performances available on Facebook, BBC Music iPlayer, and the BBC Red Button. And so to the main event, 6Music Festival by Night, which was paid for tickets. We had an amazing lineup. If you love alternative music, Interpol, Slater Kinney, The War on Drugs, Hot Chip, Royal Blood, The Fall, Jungle, Maximo Park, Kate Tempest, Kieran Hebden, Jamie T, Nana Cherry, Griff Reese, Father John Misty, Ibibio Sound Machine, Mogwai, Jamie XX. Enough. Let's have a look what it looked like.
Welcome to this year's BBC 6Music Festival. We are here on Tyneside.
By day, a veritable hub of music, poetry, film and comedy. By night, a kaleidoscope of live bands with an alternative spirit.
I'm a sad sack, close to it, caught up in the love machine. Oh, chewing gum, walking like a zombie. Like a zombie. And I'm a cold train, fast lane, caught up in the dirty rain. Walking like a zombie. Like a zombie.
Ska punk, junk shop, chip shop, hip hop, drum and bass, DIY and vocals.
Good work on the list there.
Thank you.
You sure about chip shop?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fair enough.
So what happened? So after all of that, the festival generated a wealth of content, which we either broadcast live or later. Live music right across the schedule. You couldn't move for live music. We tried to broadcast as much live music as we could, and that meant broadcasting Slaves at midday on a Saturday afternoon. And if you've never heard of Slaves, they make a lot of noise. Sean Keaveney, he's our breakfast show host. He also does stand-up comedy. We put out his set on breakfast, why not? Lauren's interview with Bryan Ferry went out, so did Steve's Lamac with Royal Blood, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, all of our presenters were involved in speaking to people, and they used the festival's content for their shows in the week that followed. Mixes that we had, like from Jamie XX and Daniel Avery, they went out on Craig Charles's show and Giles Peterson and Nimona Specialist, kind of club shows, really. And in terms of stats, we sold out in 6 minutes. Estimated radio reach was 1.43 million. Over 1 million aggregated views on BBC Red Button and BBC iPlayer combined, with over 500,000 of the weekend of the festival alone. Artists like Mogwai and Y had an uplift in their back catalogue, and the War on Drugs, who played our Friday night, returned to the top 40. And the Hack Day, where we partnered up with Generator and Newcastle University, produced promising apps, one of which could roll out for next year's festival. The audience reaction was positive. Here's a few tweets. Thank you, BBC 6Music, for one truly amazing night. And thank you, Royal Blood. I won't read them all. And the reviews were really nice. I'll just read one. The second 6Music Festival was a triumph. So we did all right. So I'm going to go back to this. How do you grow a festival out of a radio station? Well, of course, you need resources and money and people and all of that and infrastructure. But if you're just thinking about it, even if it's small scale, perhaps ask yourself questions like, does the radio station, does the brand have a festival in it? Is it rich enough? Can you tell those stories in front of an audience? Does what you have, does it have scope? Can your radio station scale up to be an all-encompassing experience? Would people come and want to be a part of it? If it does, then the festival can be an evocation of who you are as a community built around independent record stores and raves in warehouses and comedy and performances that are walls of sound and thoughtful, introspective moments. And in making ourselves part of our audience world, whether that be where they live or through their smartphone screen, then together we can grow a festival out of a radio station. Thank you.